Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a video to cover the exciting updates that have been added to Cuisine Royale in the form of the Black Sun Update. A very exciting addition to the game that includes a number of awesome things that include this fantastic flood mechanic that comes with one of the rituals. Now I'm going to be going through a number of the different updates, including the new character Viper that you can see here, that I'm also going to do a separate video on. And I want to talk to you about a number of the cool additions they've added to the game. Now, if you're wondering how I managed to get all this stuff so quickly, thank the Cuisine team for giving me early access to these things to be able to show them to you. So they've given me access to everything in the workshop. I haven't gone around or paid loads of money for it. However, it is all available to purchase. You can purchase Viper, for example, as an additional DLC, or you can grind your way through the challenges, the new challenge system, and get it that way. Now they've added 3 new traps into the game. The Ritual of Flood, that you just seen a second ago, and I'll show you again in a minute. One that eclipses the game, sets it to night time, and one that lets you turn into a bush and use that as camouflage. And I'm going to show you each of those as we go through as well. There's also a new pair of pants that shows you a trap within a certain radius, which I'm not going to be a fan of when people start using it, because one of my tips has always been to drop a grenade trap on everything in sight to get easy kills. So that's quite far down the workshop though, so it's going to take a while to earn, but once you do it, it shows you the traps on the minimap. Another thing they've done is they've turned one of the cars into a Schwimmwagen, which was a German car that could actually go in water, so this is actually a genuine, historically accurate adjustment to the game. So here you can see it in action. It's one of the only vehicles in the game that currently does this, so don't try driving other ones into it, you will just find them sinking to the bottom. And it's a bit slow when it's on water, but it's going to be pretty cool, especially if the map's flooded, because you'll then be able to drive across it, which would be pretty awesome. So here you can see the bush spray. Now this is just a spray that costs 25 souls, or it does if you use the mask. Now that's worth noting, there's a new mask that you can equip which reduces the costs. And quickly, just to show you here, I am wearing the underwear that shows you where the traps are, and you can see the bush has actually shown up as a trap on my minimap. So you can see the little red marker in the corner on the minimap. That shows you where traps are, so that could be useful for grenade traps or portal traps or link traps or whatever things people have put down, like jump traps and things, so you get an idea of where they are and get the upper hand on the enemy. However, I found I quickly switched out these pair of pants to give me the ones that actually generate souls, because having souls is very important for using all the different abilities, obviously. But spraying the bushes is quite fun. Actually, of the new rituals and sprays, this is probably the least useful. However, it is funny. So I used it to spray bushes in the fire pit and also just around the game. Maybe you can use them as like a way to obscure yourself from view. It's not obviously going to be very good to obscure you from bullets, but it is potentially a camouflage option. The next one is the Ritual of Flooding. You can see that floods the entire map, and slowly but surely the water starts to raise. There are 2 versions of this spray, and there's a catalyzed version which costs less and gets that water coming up beautifully. Now it actually works quite cleverly, because when you use it at the beginning of the game it only reaches a certain level, but I used it later on in the game in Mexico and I found that where it would only hit a certain level height previously, it would actually adjust, so it compensates depending on where the circle's falling and if it's falling higher up. So it's really cool, and this is useful in a number of ways, not least of which is flushing enemies out of buildings. So here you can see I'm dead, but my friend Castigar is playing. There's an enemy in this building, and I used the Ritual of Flood as I got downed, because you can do it when you're downed, and then it starts to flood slowly as he comes in. The guy's got flushed out of the building and he's now in the water trying to loot my body. Now Cass has got the advantage here because he can climb on top of the roof and then shoot down. The guy obviously can't shoot when he's swimming, and if everyone's swimming that's not a problem, but if someone's above you they can shoot you while you're swimming and you're at a disadvantage, so that got him the kill. It also is very useful for seeing enemies that are trying to get to a safe area. So here I am in Mexico, and I've just used that ritual again, and you can see it's flooding up by the temples, and it comes up reasonably quickly, and you can see people starting to bob around in the water. Now obviously you can go underwater, and one of the other things they've done is they have added a change to the oxygen tank, which means you can swim underwater for longer. So if you see the flooding being used, I'd recommend having the oxygen tank and swimming underwater for as long as you can. that is a good way to avoid getting shot, because you can see here people are just on the surface and they make for easy pickings. Mostly, if I'd actually shot him with the PZB, and I do manage to get him in a minute just to make up for my terrible shooting there, which is bad timing. He happened to disappear. Actually, talking about water as well, as one of the tips we used to use, one of the tricks we used to use if you have trouble with the zone, is you find you can sometimes swim faster than you can run. So it's worth going in a river and just swimming down the river to get away from the zone and into the safe zone if you find you're in a sticky situation. So that's another thing to bear in mind. One thing you'll also see in the other video that I did on the new character's ability is that you can use that zap mechanic to zap through the water as well, so you can actually get yourself through the water quite quickly. Now here's the sun eclipse. This turns the game to sort of dusk. Not really night, it doesn't go completely black, but it makes the map significantly darker, and this obviously has a bit of an impact because it means things like muzzle flare is more obvious, so you can see it in action with this machine gun that I was using, spraying bullets over into the distance. You can see the tracer fire a lot more, so you can see where people are shooting, where you're being shot from, and that obviously is going to have an impact on the game. Another thing is that you can use it for cover, and I'll show you that again in a minute. Another way to use the flood mechanic that I didn't cover is that you can actually flood an area to then get to higher ground. So we're swimming across here, obviously you're at risk of being shot at, but you could always dive under the water. Swimming across to the other side, I've actually used the flood mechanic, and now we're going to get to the cliffs. That to get to those you'd have to run quite a long distance on the ground and then jump and climb up, or run up some long route to be able to get there. I'm going to swim straight over to these cliffs over there, so it's a very useful way of using them. And that's the good thing about these different rituals and the different way the game works. You'll see with the link portal videos that I did. Be sure to check out the playlist if you've not seen it already of all the different tips videos. I did various different ways of using the link portal trap, and there's loads of different ways you can use that. So it's worth experimenting with different things when you're using these rituals, and you'll find there are fantastic new ways to play with them, and it's great fun. Also recommend checking out this character, because their ability to use dashing mechanic to dash across the map in 4 quick bursts that take you 20 meters at a time allows you to get across the map really quickly. Means you can catch up with your buddies, or you can flank enemies, or you can catch up with enemies that are running at a distance. So there's quite a few nice new changes to the game that are worth saving your pennies for in the workshop and grinding your way through the challenges to get, and they're really good. You can get the new character, as I said, by purchasing the DLC and giving yourself a bit of a boost there, but the other sprays, they're right down the end of the workshop, so you have to work your way towards them. It takes quite a while. Apologies for my voice, by the way. I got a bit of a cold at the moment, so I'm quite hoarse, and I do apologise for that. But I wanted to get this video out as soon as possible because there's a lot of new exciting things happening in the world of Cuisine Royale. Now this is what I was talking about earlier on, where nearer the end of the game, so previously you saw it only reach the cliffs. This is actually further up the hill, but the circles shrunk a lot more, and I've used the flood, and it's still flooding up here as well, so it sort of resets where the flood's going to be, so it works in different ways. Now the sun eclipse one also works in other ways. You can use it to not only sort of flush out enemies and see where they are, but use it as cover. So here we're looting an orbital fridge which someone else has brought in, but I killed them when they went over to it, and I dropped that down so the darkness is giving my friend cover while he's looting the orbital fridge, because now enemies can't see him as easily. He's in the grass, so he's not terribly visible anyway, but it was in the middle of a field in a brightly lit area, and now it's really dark, so it's difficult for them to see him, which is obviously a fantastic way of using it. Another way to do it is if you're in open and have to get into cover, then you can do it that way. Here I've used it to run across a field, and now I'm in a forest and it's really dark. One thing I would recommend though is to not use this character's dashing ability while you're doing that, because it leaves a purple streak behind. Be sure to check out that video with a more detailed overview of her skills. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting or hilarious. Be sure to subscribe and check out these other videos, as well as taking a look in the description for links and information you might find useful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or anything you'd like to see extra about this, and have a great life.